I've had problems from that since 1971. I'm claustrophobic. I had always been an avid swimmer. Every time I get water up my nose, I have just a slight panic from that. And I would advise you, don't do it. Take my word for it. It's torture.
Well, I know it's torture, but I want to illustrate what it's like when somebody really, I want to see, I'm guessing I can hold out about 30, 45 seconds. We'll see if I can do it. And because I can just turn my brain off usually. I want to see how bad it really is. But I know it can cause physical damage. That's why the Chicago police were trying to stop Eric Moeller, Mancal, from doing it. You're saying it caused you health problems?
Yes, it's caused mostly the mental. I have PTSD anyway. And but the waterboarding really bothered me more, the waterboarding and the rest of it bothered me more than going to war. You know, I have more effects from the survival school, but you got to realize 1971, the Marine Corps boot camp, at least every 3 days you was beat. They don't do that anymore, but they did when I went through. So, and I was...
Yeah, I've talked to older Marines. They say they used to shoot at you, throw real hand grenades, beat people. People would die falling off ropes, and I guess they've lightened it up a bit.
They was experts at hitting you in the solar plexus, taking the end of your bayonet while it was on your hip and jabbing it in your side, or just plain kicking you in the butt hard with the toe of the shoe, the toe of the boot, you know. And like I said, I was 18 years old when I went to that survival school. I was in top physical condition, best physical condition I was ever in my life, and it almost killed me.
Well, Ventura said that they jump on your stomach, too, when they waterboard you. Do they do that to you?
Yes, yes. And you think you're dead. You think you're dead. I was also choked out. We did that in boot camp. You had your buddy behind you. You could not fight back, and they actually choked you out until you passed out. And then
in high school, a few times we did that as a game. The weird dreams you have, like in the 10 seconds you pass out, that all the guys in there have been like, and I have had these weird dreams. I go, but the only problem is one time they let me go and I hit my head and busted it open. I tell you the crazy stuff that goes on. Well, I'd like to hear more of those stories sometime. I've got this big breakdown coming up. But, Roger, we appreciate your call. God bless you. Take care. All right, we're going to come back and talk to Todd, Rick, Julio, Chris, and others. Look, it's too late. I've already said I'm going to get waterboarded. It's going to happen. We've just got to figure out when and how and when. So that's all coming up as well. Put it live on PrisonPlanet.tv. Okay, for the next 40 minutes, I'm going to break down the cashless society control grid. Then Webster Griffin Tarp is going to join us. We'll continue with open phones as well. Now understand, as bad as this is going to sound, this is not 1/100th of the knowledge that I'm aware of, and I'm probably not aware of half of what's going on. The more I learn, the less I know that I know. It just always gets worse, always gets crazier than we had first broken down. Now remember, I had gotten on the air 13 years ago with the Telecommunications Act of 96 and said they're turning all the major telecommunications and cyber systems that are private with $9 billion of federal money into giant wiretaps. It was admitted it was designed for the feds to cull through it without wiretaps. That was debated in Congress. And then I would have listeners call in and say, there's no such thing as the NSA. There's no such thing as Echelon. Remember in the mid-90s, it didn't exist? So let's throw that Mother Jones article up first. Should Obama control the Internet? And if you scroll down in the article, they have the quotes by Jay Rockefeller and Senator Olympia Snowe as well, saying, should President Obama have the power to shut down the domestic Internet traffic during a state of emergency? Senators John Rockefeller, that goes by Jay, and Olympia Snowe, senators, think so. And that's the bill that Obama has signed in as an executive order. This is the accompanying bill. Now, that's just to head off one small part of this larger story. People are in denial. This story, posted at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, a detailed analysis by Paul Watson that gives you a wide spectrum view of what's happening. People are all over both websites commenting, saying we're making it up. There's no way to shut down the Internet. Well, the stated goal of the Pentagon and the Cyber Command is to do just that. And the head of cybersecurity quit in March. Cybersecurity chief resigns amid turf battle. In a blunt letter, Rod Bergstrom cited clash with national security agencies. So they act like it's a turf battle. When you actually read what he had to say, he says a threat to our democracy with the Pentagon taking over all private internet activity in the United States. And in a blunt letter to Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano, Bergstrom complained about a shortage of money for the center and clash over whether the national security agencies should control cyber efforts. The role of the NSA in protecting domestic computer networks has triggered debate, particularly among privacy and civil libertarians groups. So this is kind of an MSNBC whitewash. You pull up the other articles, you can actually read him saying. In fact, I want that on screen. I meant to have that article. Just Google head of cybersecurity resigns, says threat to democracy. I want folks to see that in case there's any denial out there. So that said, let me just read over the 4 pages of notes that I've boiled this down to of different control grid points. The cashless society surveillance grid to control mobility and purchasing and to track and trace all you buy, sell, and do, track all your internet activity, track all your private activity, track your car everywhere you drive by scanning and reading your license plate. That's now nationwide in the U.S., all over Europe, all over England. It's a global treaty. It's all integrated in global databases under treaties. I want to go over that. Yeah, U.S. cybersecurity chief quits over NSA power grab, the register. U.S. government cybersecurity chief abruptly quit last week amid allegations his office was woefully underfunded and unduly controlled by the country's ultra-secretive national security agency. And he goes on to say that it is a threat to our freedoms. So, yeah, that's got his actual quotes from his letter right there out of the register. I was trying to read it across the room and couldn't, and to look over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, this was a quick segment, a long segment coming up. I'm going to break down these different points and tie it all together. And MIT, the Pentagon, the UN, it's all stated. Internet 2, which is a consortium, everything you're going to hear here is on record. This is what they admit. Can you imagine what we don't know? Can you imagine what we're not being told? So we will go over all of it on the other side of this quick break right here on the GCN Radio Network. I'm Alex Jones.